Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 4, and today I'm joined by the McNair head football coach, Coach Mario Drayton. Thanks for being on with us.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Now, I know you are currently coaching in Metro Atlanta, but you are a native of Florida. What part of Florida are you from?
I'm from good old Jacksonville, Florida, man. Born and raised.
So where'd you go to high school?
I went to Ribault High School.
And I know most everybody I've talked to from Florida, they played everything. And I don't know if most people know this about you, but I know you were All-American college baseball player. So I know you played baseball and probably football. Did you play a third sport too?
I played basketball and ran track during high school. When I played baseball, we would be in the first, second, third inning. And when our event came up, me and a few other buddies of mine, because our field was right next to our track, we'll take off our stuff, man. He'll sub us out. We'll go over there, run our event, and we'll run right back. He'll put us back in and finish the game, man. So, definitely, most of us from Florida, man, we stay busy when it comes to sports.
Yeah, I remember when I had Bobby Scipio on, and he was like, Coach, I played everything. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, pretty much. Stay busy now. That's one thing you did. Nobody ain't like being at home.
Yeah, and the more opportunities you give yourself, too, I think that's good too. Don't put all your irons in one fire.
Nah, never that. Couldn't do it.
So you went on to Edward Waters and played baseball, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were an All-American.
Yes, sir. Senior year.
So what position did you play?
I played outfield, but my last 2 years I was actually a DH, man. And how that happened was, I played around. I never really took sports serious because in my mind, I was always just good. So I never really put in work in anything. In my first 2 years, probably my sophomore year, my coach brought in some kids from Tampa, man. It was really real baseball players, and brought in some other kids. And I found myself on the bench most of my sophomore year, man. And, it looked like it was going to be that way my junior year. And my coach came to me. A few kids got hurt, and he was like, "Look, I need you want to do DH?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it, man. Anything to play or whatever." And so I got into DH, and probably by a quarter of the season was done, and I batted probably 311, 3 something, in limited time, and I earned all conference that my junior year as a DH, and my senior year, that's when I really started taking it serious. When I saw the value in actually putting in work, and so I worked all summer long, man. I was at the baseball field, hitting off the tee. I probably took 500 swings a day, things like that. Shoot, I grabbed the axe in my backyard, and I just started swinging the axe because it was the only thing I could have because I didn't have a bat. We couldn't afford no bat in my house. So I had an axe and went from chopping little trees down and I was just swinging and I did that almost every day. And then I got to the season. My coach was like, hey, Mario, I'm not going to lie. We had a lot of freshmen. We lost a lot. But a lot of freshmen. He's like, if we expect to be any good, I'm going to need you to bat at least 400. Like, you have to bat 400. You got to get on base. You got to start it for the team. And I was confident at that time. I was like, all right, coach, cool, man. So that's how that went. And I probably batted like 411. I actually was batting close to 500. But we played this team out of South Carolina, Allen University. It was a doubleheader. It was the last game. And we was playing this pitcher. And this kid probably threw about 20 miles an hour. So you know how that go. You looking at it, you trying to kill it every time. And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to kill it every time. And it actually dropped my batting average to like 411, 410-ish and things like that. So I had a chance to, leave my college career with a pretty high batting average. But man, shoot, kid, I was moving up so far on the plate. I was trying to kick the dirt so I can hide the line. I was trying to move up as close as I could and things like that. But I couldn't, I did okay. But, 4 hits out of what? I think about 411 that weekend. Which don't sound bad, but when you got our average, that's going to drop the average. So it dropped my average and things like that or whatever. And so, that's kind of how it went, man. We made it to the national tournament my last year. And I think we were 1 game away from the finals, matter of fact. A team, Flagler University out of St. Augustine, we always pretty much had, they always they always blew us out. We beat them one time. They blew us out. They remembered it. They blew us out, man, and that's kind of how that my baseball career came to an end.
So did you know in college that you wanted to teach and coach?
Yeah. I'll say I always knew I wanted to work with kids, man. I just, I've never had a real job. I worked at my granddad has a church in Jacksonville, Northside Church of Christ, and we had a summer camp, and I went to the summer camp, and I worked in the summer camp, and I always kind of enjoyed just working around kids. Even though I was a kid myself, I always enjoyed that environment. So I knew that I wanted to teach, and I knew I wanted to coach. I didn't really care what I coached, though, because I know my dad coached me in everything. My dad was my first coach. Coached me in baseball, coached me in basketball. He didn't coach me in football. I didn't start playing football till later. But he coached me in everything else. So I knew I wanted to kind of follow that path and be a coach. So, but it really, like, probably after my senior year, that's when it really hit. Like, I knew I wanted to just coach ball.
So your first job out of college was where?
Wow, I actually worked at Hibbets. I had worked at Hibbets Sport and which is a crazy story because I got married. Well, I'll tell you I got married probably December 13th. And I didn't have a job. And so the December 12th, I met my wife's grandmother, God rest her soul. And she was like, you got a job? And I'm sitting here like, no. So how you going to take care of my baby then? I was like, God going to provide, she said. And I was just joking, but she was like, you're right. God is going to provide, but you got to take care of my baby now. You can't be around here, a man, you ain't got no job. And I was like, I got some, prospects or whatever. I think it's going to work out. So immediately I stopped talking to her and Hibbets called like right after, which is crazy. We were sitting in the church at our rehearsal, at our wedding rehearsal, and Hibbets called and was like, hey man, we want to bring you on. It was they had what they call a coaching training, which was basically a manager in training. It was at the Valdosta Mall. And I got the job and he was like, can you come in tomorrow? I was like, well, I'm getting married tomorrow. I'm on honeymoon next week. Can I come in next Monday? So I was like, cool. So Hibbets was my first job out of college.
And then your first teaching job was
Berrien County.
Berrien County, the Rebels.
Yeah, man. And this is a story in of itself because I was there 2 years, couldn't get a job.
Who was your head coach?
Ross New.
Oh man, back in the day.
Yeah, man. And so and the crazy thing about it is like I had applied there and interviewed there before, but I didn't have any experience. I wasn't from there. Like they didn't know me from Adam. And things like that. And I was applying, I did what everybody else normally would do. I applied at Valdosta, applied at Lowndes, applied at Adel, applied at Brooks. And it's like, I guess I didn't know anybody. They didn't know me. So, 2 years and I couldn't get a job, man. And, a lady that worked there, my wife's best friend's auntie was actually the director of personnel there. Dr. Moffitt. I never forget her. My career probably wouldn't even got started if it went for her because she was the one who put the bug in the coach new ear because he did need another coach. And so he was like, well, what about him? And I didn't have an experience, and Coach New didn't know me, but she called me and was like, could you come in for another interview? I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And so I went in and interview, and it wasn't really an interview. He was just basically saying, Dr. Moffitt talked to me, I want to bring you in. I know you ain't got no experience. So he was basically saying that I was going to help coach DBs or whatever. And all he wanted me to do was follow the DB coach around. So the DB's coach was Coach Rayleigh, Jackson Rayleigh. I'll never forget him. And, he said, just learn from him. And so that was my first job. All I did was sit there and I just learned from it and things like that. And so that's how I got my start in the coaching. If it wasn't for Dr. Moffitt, man, I probably would never, I would probably have to go back home, and going back home wasn't an option. I didn't want to go back home and coach football or coach anything, but that was pretty much my, my ticket into where I'm at right now.
Was that Ray's Mill Pond? Is that down there, Berrien County? That fish place
man.
Down there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's good eating place.
Yes, sir, man. When I first got, everybody always talk about the catfish, man. You gotta get the catfish, man. Yeah, that's definitely a good place. It's one of the first real small country places that I ate when I was down there.
Yeah, when you go to South Georgia, you find these little podunk, hole-in-the-wall places. When they only open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they for real.
Daggone right, man. And that was some good food, man. I never forget that place. Like I say, it was one of the first places I ate. And I went there with a few of my of the coaching buddies or whatever and stuff like that. It was like, you never been there? I was like, no, man, I ain't from here. Man, look here. I was still having trouble finding the way to get the work, let alone being from there. But yeah, they took me, man. We had a good time. But yeah.
Yeah, staying in Valdosta, that's a little bit of a drive to get to Nashville from there.
Well, I actually stayed in Lake Park when I worked in Nashville.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even further. So where did you go after Berrien?
Hello?
Where'd you go after Berrien?
After Berrien, I went to Hamilton County. I was in Hamilton County, Florida. And I left Berrien. And this is really started my obsession with trying to be a good football coach. But Ryan Branch became the coach my third year. Yeah, I'm calling names, and at the end of the season, it was a lot of crazy stuff. But I applied for the basketball. They had a head basketball coaching job in Berrien County. And I applied for it thinking I was going to get it because I had coached in the previous 2 years and things like that. Matter of fact, I finished most of that second season because once the head coach got kicked out of a game, got suspended for a game, and I just took over, and he pretty much let me kind of just handle it, And so I'm thinking when he left, I was just going to get that job, and I didn't get that job. He didn't even want to interview me, but he brought me in for an interview and basically said, hey, I'm bringing in this coach. Can you please just help him with the kids and stuff like that? And I'm like, no. So the man pretty much told me, I was one of the reasons why you was able to keep the job when Branch came, and I can take your job in a way. And I was like, so be it, And then so one day, Coach New was actually my principal at Berrien Middle my last year. And so, he was always looking out for me and stuff like that. That's why I love the dude, because he's just a genuinely good dude. And he was looking out for me. So he was pretty much pressing the issue to Branch. Are you going to keep him? Do I need to let him know? Because basically what they were trying to do was they were going to let me get all the way to April when they usually do and not give me a chance to try to find something for myself. So probably around in December of my last year there, Branch came down to the middle school and he basically told me he wanted to bring me back. But what really kind of stoked the fire in me is he basically was like, I don't know if coaching for you. Basically said I'm not a good coach. You probably need to go find something else to do and things like that. And at that time, I did get dejected. I was just kind of like, dang, this, nobody's ever told me that before. I just never been told that I'm not good enough to do anything. And so, after that, I actually applying for jobs, didn't get a job. I was going to take a job in Teffair County. I went out there for a few of the practices. I would drive almost.
Drew McIntyre here from WWE. Wielding the Claymore can be a life of chaos. When I'm not dominating in the ring, Chumba Casino is how this warrior takes a wee break. With hundreds of online social games and new weekly releases, there's always something fresh to try. And those daily boosts, next level. Even my free time feels like Valhalla. So when life feels like a battle, kick up your feet, have some fun, and let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
2 hours from Lake Park to Fair County, go to the practice, stuff like that. And it was a cool place, nice people, just too far. And then my father-in-law, who worked in Hamilton County as the ROTC instructor, he said, I'll reach out to Coach Mike Pittman, about a job or whatever. And so, he reached out. I went up there and, interviewed with, Coach Pittman, interviewed at the elementary school, and I wound up getting a job and things like that. And so Hamilton County was my second stop.
And where did you end up after Hamilton?
After Hamilton, I actually stayed working in Hamilton, but I coached at Valwood with Ashley Henderson.
Oh, he's a good dude.
Yeah, look here. I owe him a lot. A lot of people wouldn't like me saying that, but I do owe him a lot, and he always downplays it. But if I guess when we get into the story of why, then people will understand why. So Valwood with Ashley. Ashley went to TCC. I wound up making a detour in 8L at Cook High School for a year. After Cook High School, that's when I went to Thomas County Central. After Thomas County Central, it was Lowndes, and then Lowndes to McNair High School. So
you went back with Ashley to TCC.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast with us. He's one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, man. Me too. Me too, man. We actually had a chance. We actually in the same region this year, man. We were in the same region this year, and things like that. And so I still talk to him. I text him after the game the other day, after they playoff win, after they played us, man. And like I say, we've been through a lot, man. We definitely have been through a lot together, good ups and downs. But at the end of the day, man, he's always going to be a solid dude in my book.
Well, it says a lot when you can work for somebody in two different places. When they think enough of you to rehire you, that's a pretty good testament to the job you did for somebody and what they think of you in the long run when you do that. I mean, going forward, trying to help young coaches out, letting them know, don't burn no bridges, early, because you never know when that guy can help you out later.
Oh no, that's definitely something you don't do, man. It happens a lot now, seems like it, than it did when I was coming up, man. Because, a lot of young coaches I don't know what it is. A lot of these young coaches, they don't really understand that piece of it. I was telling, I got 3 young coaches on my staff under 30. And I was telling them, man, shoot, I wash clothes. There's not a job in football I ain't done. I'm putting up the camera at Lowndes, I'm washing clothes in 8L, Hamilton County, washing clothes. And we used to take rides to go trade film and stuff, man. And, so it ain't really no little job, no big job, man. Just, I felt like a lot of that humbled me to coaching and just made me want to work harder. Because I still do a lot of that stuff. Now, even though I have coaches, it's hard for me. I still wash the clothes.
That's what you grow up doing. It needs to be done. It's got to be done.
I still wash the clothes, man. I'm there breaking down film, writing stuff, getting this together, man. Just helping hang the clothes up. So it's just like you say, it's just something that I grew up doing. It just even though I'm the head coach, I always tell people I just don't see myself as that when I'm doing it. Stuff like that, because I know a lot of head coaches I work for, they really take that head coach role to the head and forget about the personal part of it. And I never want to be those guys. I always want to be, I know I'm not one of the guys, but I still have to be one of the guys because that's just me. And I didn't never want to, be a head coach that people were afraid to come up to and talk to and things like that. I just never wanted to be that guy.
Well, who was your head coach at Cook?
Bobby Jones was my head coach at Cook.
Bobby Jones, he's a Florida guy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was Brock Kennedy on that staff?
Brock was on it after I left.
After you left? Yeah.
Yeah.
he's a dude
Brock,
too.
yeah. Brock was on it after I left. I want to say Brock did some time in Hamilton County too.
Yeah, he's from down there in that area. That joker's I met him down in Florida working the Nike Coach of the Year clinic, FNCA. Yeah. That joker's crazy. Funny to me.
Yeah, man.
He's different country. Funny to me. But anyway, so Thomas County Central, you're there with Ashley, and then you make your way to Atlanta. You keep moving north. You start out in Jacksonville, so you go back to the big city.
Yeah.
So you head up to Atlanta, and did you just go straight to McNair, or did you work somewhere else in Atlanta before McNair?
Nah, it was straight to McNair, and I wasn't even finna apply for the job, to be honest. Like, I was at Lowndes, and, in my mind, I finally made it to that point. And so I was kind of content with just working at Lounge because, heck, it took me, 15 years to get on. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, why leave? I'm not going to do anything and stuff like that. But, my wife, well, it was a big influence because her thing was, man, just, put yourself out there. You're ready. You've been ready. You can run your own team. You can do a good job and things like that. If we have to move, we move, whatever and stuff. And I didn't even know what McNair was, but I know that you always post and you had McNair there. And so I saw your post and it said McNair, and I never heard of it I had no idea. And so I looked it up and stuff like that. And the crazy thing about it is I think I got catfish because when I looked at the film, when I'm researching, like they had some good looking kids. I'm like, why can't they win here? I was like, I know I can get here and we can win and things like that or whatever. But it was late in the game when I could probably got interviewed in early June when I got interviewed. I think the coach, I think he left in late May. So I got interviewed around in June. And when I got the job, so I was sitting in the Publix with my wife and the principal called and was like, you got the job. Are you sure you know what you're getting into? And me was like, no, I don't care. I'm a head coach now, so I appreciate it. And I got here and yeah, it's been an adventure. I can tell you that.
And it's DeKalb, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's something I want people to understand, that the things that you guys have to deal with that a one county school system doesn't, and the amount of hoops that you have to jump through, and being in a multi-school system is just so much different. I know some friends of mine, I'm buddies with the coaches at Rockmart, and they said that they played first round of the playoffs, and the team they were playing was given the option. I think it was Redan was given the option. Y'all can leave at 10. We can get you there by noon, or you can wait for the buses at 4 and maybe get there by game time.
Yep.
And them children sat in the bleachers from noon until game time because they couldn't go into school. They didn't have nowhere to put them because they were in school.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't like they could, it wasn't a lack of hospitality. There was a lack of somewhere to put them.
Yeah.
And he said those kids just had to sit out in the bleachers and they were door dashing food. And where a single school, where places you'd been, Thomas County Central, Valwood, Lowndes, Cook, y'all have never done that.
No.
Y'all have got out at 10.
Yeah.
Y'all to eat on the way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Y'all to ate on the way. Y'all to stopped at somebody's facility and done a walkthrough.
Yeah.
But those aren't things that y'all can control. That's not something that y'all can deal with. Y'all aren't dealing with y'all aren't playing in the same game that everybody else is.
No.
And I don't think most people understand that.
No.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just y'all got a whole different set of circumstances that y'all have to deal with just when it comes to football that people don't understand.
Yeah, it's different. Didn't realize how different it was until I got into it. And the more I'm into it, I definitely get used to it. We've had to do that. Like, I know we played at Putnam County, and we got to Putnam probably around 12. And shout out to Putnam, and shout out to their AD and their head coach, Coach Harvin. When we called, it was like, do y'all got anywhere y'all can put us? He put us in their field house, their little locker room, things like that. Had fans for us, water and stuff. So I will say this: the places that we had to do that at, man, like in these single aid, man, I appreciate them big time because, we could have been in that situation, but a lot of these places would bend over backwards to make sure we had somewhere to be, even if it had to slightly inconvenience them and things like that. And our kids, we were very appreciative. Shoot, some places had food for us. Like, do y'all need food? So we don't like the situation, but I know this year we were extremely fortunate just to go to places that really took great care of us while we had to be, just sitting around for so long and things like that. But the cab is definitely a different ball game. It ain't for everybody. It's not what I'm used to. I grew up in coaching, like you say, down south, so none of this stuff ever registered in my mind. That you will have to do this, and the hoops that you got to jump through are insane and things like that. It is different, I've told my wife this, like, man, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in coaching. It is hard because of what you have to deal with, and not just that, but down there, most of our kids, it was just football minded. Like, shoot, these couldn't stop these kids from playing football or training or doing something. But my kids, these McNair kids, it is different because we are in East Atlanta. We are in almost the heart of Atlanta. These kids got everything to do and more. So just to get them focused and locked in, and to get them to see the importance of what we're trying to do is probably what, like I say, that was one of the toughest things that I did coming in, man, because I'm thinking I'm just going to come in. I'm going to have 20, 30, 40 kids that love football. They want to win. They want to do what it takes to win. It was not like that at all. It was the complete opposite.
Well, you've definitely got them going in the right direction. I mean, it's places like that are basically ground up builds, and it's a school that was built from two older schools that consolidated years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just the competition that you have within the county, having so many other high schools, and, kids are so transient these days, especially in Metro. I mean, they can get mad and go somewhere else next week. And I'm sure you have to deal with all of that. I mean, that's, if they tell you at Thomas County Central, they might go to Thomasville. Or, if they're at Lowndes, they might go to Valdosta, they might go to Brooks. But, you look at them and go, all right, where are you going to go? I mean, they got to drive to get where they really going to go. They live 30 miles away.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you at now, they can throw a rock and hit another high school. I mean,
yeah, and it was just crazy because, like, we're literally separated by a bridge from Cedar Grove. We're probably about 10 minutes away from Columbia. We're probably about 15 minutes away from Towers. And things like that, and see, and like I tell, our DeKalb situation is extremely unique because we're the only Atlanta school in DeKalb County, and what I'm saying, the closest school to us is probably Maynard Jackson, which is an APS school.
Right.
We can just drive down the street around the corner, you get to Maynard in about 5-10 minutes. So, like, we're in a unique spot. And if you ever been to McNair in that area, it is a nice area, and people don't think it because they think, oh, McNair, they used to call it McNasty, it's just a bad school and things like that. But when you drive around the neighborhood, these are some very old, like, nice homes, like a nice neighborhood, and we're surrounded by 2 to 3 like multi-million-dollar neighborhoods, like literally next to our school. But we only have 700 kids. We don't get none of those kids in that nice big community. We don't get none of those kids. Most of our kids, if there are a few apartments around McNair, and if those apartments ever cease to exist, then
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. CT&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
They probably wouldn't have much of a school. So, a lot of our kids live in these apartments and things like that. A few might live in the houses that surround it, but, we're different, as far as, like, it's harder to, if I wanted to go and recruit a kid, right? It's hard for me to get a kid to be there because, like, no offense to nobody, the world is what it is, but it is harder to move in our neighborhood because nobody moves. A lot of those homes, if they are rented out, you're paying an arm and a leg for them. The apartments mostly stay full. So, if I were ever accused of recruiting at McNair, I would laugh in people's face. I'm like, well, how are we going to get them here? We don't have it like that and things like that and stuff. So, we don't have a magnet program. We don't have any of these things. So we don't have any kind of program. It's just a high school. We don't have a magnet. We don't have any CTE type programs that kids can get in. So usually, like, it's small school. McNair small school in the way that I'm pretty much stuck with kids that I have.
Right.
You
It's
know,
old school city. I mean, it's old school neighborhood school.
yeah, it definitely is, and I can't even go out that neighborhood. I can't go 5 minutes out and get a kid. There's no way, and stuff like that. I can't go to Cedar Grove and get a kid. I have nothing to offer a kid at Cedar Grove. I have nothing to offer a kid at Columbia and things like that. Shoot, we can't even go to doggone Clarkson or somewhere and get kids. Like, because you talking about, well, shoot, yeah, you can come to McNair, but we can't live over there. We can't even afford it. So,
But them around you can get yours.
oh yes, man, look here. And listen, and I will say this. Now, I will say this. Even though it's been attempted, most of my kids have been extremely, loyal to me. That's why I tell them all the time, man. Like, most of my kids had choices, but that's just a shout out to what we're trying to build. The coaches that I brought in, and just trying to really just keep a fence around the kids that I have. But we have lost kids, but I can say finishing my fourth season, we've never lost a kid to another school, but because of a coach, putting pressure. We haven't had that yet. And so I've been really blessed in that area, stuff like that. But it's not for lack of trying. Trust me. My kids come to me all the time and show me messages from other coaches from other DeKalb schools saying, come to this school. We can get you into college, yada, 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 and things like that, man, and stuff. So, I always tell our kids one thing earlier I told them was, I was like, the worst thing that can happen to DeKalb County is McNair actually keeps their kids and we actually go be in the spot that we're supposed to be in because, and this is what people told me, I may be wrong. They may challenge me on this. But when I first got there, a lot of old heads would basically always say there was really no Southwest DeKalb. There's no Cedar Grove without Bouldercrest. And that's what McNair is on because a lot of those kids stopped going to McNair for a while. And I may be wrong, but this is what was told to me and things like that. And there's no knock on Southwest DeKalb. I don't have any loyalties to any school in DeKalb other than McNair for the most part. So I'm not saying this, out of spite. I'm just saying what was told to me when I first got the job and why. Because I would ask, why has McNair been so bad for so long? Yet when you look on film in previous years, they've had nice looking kids. It's like, Coach, those kids don't stay. Those kids either going to Southwest or those kids are going to Cedar Grove. Yeah, they might have, a few that might go to Columbia. I mean, that's what was told to me. And so just trying to keep those kids in our building and keep that, that bond with these kids and in the community and things like that is just something that we still working on. But at the end of the day, man, I'm proud of what we trying to do there, man. And like I say, it's put some years on me, I can tell you that.
Well, how does your feeder program work? I mean, do y'all have a dedicated middle school or do y'all draw from a bunch of them?
We have a middle school. It's probably about 5 minutes away from our high school. But I will say this, and, he can listen all he wants to. I've told everybody this. Our middle school, they don't, in the past, it was hard to get those coaches to kind of help. They'll say they want to help and things like that. And I remember my first season there, I would, come to the game, come by, and it would be more so like, hey, man, you come to McNair, everybody listen to that. And so you'll talk to the coach, and the coach would say something like, they might not come to McNair, they might not. Who you need to talk to is this kid, or talk to this parent, or talk to this person. And that just like killed me because down south I wouldn't have heard that. Like, if you went to Lowndes Middle, you went to, Pine Grove, you went to you went to Lowndes. And so to hear a coach saying that I had to go talk to him, and in my mind, I'm like, well, why aren't you pushing that? You were at McNair as well. And so, the vertical alignment between our high school and our middle school sports programs aren't what it needs to be. And it's just been allowed to go by. And that was one of my biggest gripes with my AD. When we talked about this a couple of nights ago, I'm like, because, I'm like, we can't build a program if the middle school can't conform to what we need them to do. Right. And that is one of my biggest things and stuff like that. Now I will say this: the kids that we have gotten from McNair Middle School, they are really the ones that kind of help set a lot of this stuff in motion. Because the ones that we have are some dudes, and we've been blessed to keep these kids, man. But we're not getting all of them. We're not. I'm not gonna sit on the podcast and start throwing names and where these kids have gone. I'm not finna do that, but we have lost some kids and things like that. And I tell people this, and my coaches, they'll tell you the same thing. If we were able to keep every single kid that we have lost from the middle school and kids that have transferred out for the craziest reasons, we will probably be a top 10 team in single A right now. We've lost some talent. We've retained some talent, but we've lost tons of talent. And that's one thing that I'm really trying to do. I'm really trying to get our middle school program to see, like, they're needed more than they think they are. And we got to stop, trying to look good for DeKalb and start looking good for our neighborhood, for our community, and stop, because my thing is, if you're a middle school coach and you work at McNair, you should not have an inkling of thought in your throat to even tell another kid, yeah, you should go here, you should go here, you should be pushing those kids to McNair High School and things like that, especially when we are trying to work with you and things like that. And we are really trying. And so, that's one thing that, me and my AD talked about a couple of nights ago and things like that. And he was asking me, what I need to do to keep it happy and this and that and stuff like that. And I'm like, that has to be fixed. Like, how can I build the program, when the foundation is being broken from under me and nobody wants to step in, and things like that, because most middle schools operate autonomously. So it ain't like, I don't have control over what they do. And I asked them that I'm not saying I need control, but I want to work with them, because despite the fact that we've had kids to come from McNair Middle School, shout out to my coaches, man. We've had to teach these kids fundamentals you wouldn't think. We have kids this year, linemen this year that came from middle school, they couldn't get in 3-point stance. So when I mean they're not being taught fundamentals, they're not being taught fundamentals. Now middle school has been good, pretty much, but it's always been off athleticism. There's no set system. They're not running a set defense, a set offense. They're not being taught fundamentals and things like that. And so when they get to us, they like to run fast, jump high, and do all of this stuff. But a lot of these kids don't know a route tree, don't know what a down block is, don't know proper form tackling. You brought a quarterback from the middle school, he can't even take a snap from the gun. So when I tell you, like, that's why I shout out my coaches, because like we have to always go. Every year we always have to go backwards to move forward, and so that's kind of why we always stuck in this, this pickle and things like that, instead of actually being where I feel like we really should be because of that, and that's something that we're really trying to work on.
Yeah, it's tough, especially at that age. These days, the street committee gets a hold of them, and I mean, it's earlier and earlier, starting with travel ball and everything else. And AAU, whether it's basketball, football, travel baseball, whatever it is, they get a hold of them that middle school age, and they'll go wherever.
Yeah.
And if you can't even get a hold of them, that's a problem. Especially when you're a small, you're a single A school in the middle of Atlanta, which is odd anyway. I mean, that's just crazy anyway.
It sounds crazy, right? And that's the first thing I said.
Very unique. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's just weird.
Yeah, it is. And like I told people, like, because I know, like, people were not really for us doing it and things like that, because, us in Towers, that's the other school that's a single A metro. And so basically they were going to do what we did and vice versa and stuff like that. And so my AD came to me during the last reclassification cycle and was like, what do you want to do? And things like that. And so there was all of these things, even our district actually wanted us to play in just all DeKalb school, most of the DeKalb schools, that were either 1A, 2A. They wanted to move us up to like 3A and play in just one big DeKalb region.
Yeah, it's easier for travel. It's cheaper for them. It ain't what's best for the kids or what's best for you, but it's what's best for them.
Which is crazy. And this is the thing, man, like, I didn't want to do that, but a lot of other coaches would, because of course, like, there are a couple of AA schools that could probably, like, now that could play with almost any DeKalb school. And so they were, everybody was like, what you gonna do, Drayton? You're gonna do it and stuff like that. And the crazy thing about it is, like, what really, like, got me to not want to do it for sure, I was sitting talking to Coach Adams. Coach Adams was the coach at Cedar Grove. He's at Georgia State now. And he explained it like I probably should have even explained it. His thing was, why would he get in the region with his team, with us and Towers, and we're trying to build a program? He was looking out for me and Coach Garrett and our programs and things like that. Like he was pretty much like he wasn't gonna do it. He was not gonna get in that region. He said he would have played up or played down, but he wasn't gonna get in that region. And he fought for it. Like, and I'm sitting here like, well, shoot, if anything, you would think he'd be like, hey, a couple of easy wins and stuff like that. But he didn't want to do it and stuff like that. And we talked, and he was like, you should not want to do that. He said, y'all need to go ahead and play down. It's going to be a crazy situation. But at the end of the day, that's where y'all kids need to be, because that's where y'all enrollment say y'all going to be at, and y'all will be fine. So really, when he talked at that and things like that, and there was pressure on my AD and all that stuff, I told him no. And our basketball coach, everybody was kind of worried about it and things like that. But, we made the conscious decision to do it, man. And like I say, I'm glad we did. Now, the adjustment for our kids was kind of crazy, because most of these kids, A, don't leave Atlanta, and then B, we driving in the woods going to the game for them, and we kind of had a taste of that the year before last. Like we got a game drop, and Coach Matt Neighbors, he's the defensive coordinator at Flint River. They had a game drop too. So he called me and was like, hey, y'all want to play? I was like, cool. So we went out to Flint River Academy, man. Shout out to them, And so we go out there, and so we driving, and it ain't nothing. We just graveyard to the left, and they like, I think we'll say it's across the street from a graveyard or something. It was just a little grass field, and just a little stadium, and the kids were just like, they were just dumbfounded. Like these kids couldn't believe, like they were really shocked. Like you would think we were in like, the dome or something. Like they were like,
it's the opposite of when you take country kids to the city.
Yeah. So we playing on grass. It's the biggest they stadium is. And so we got there kind of early. And so, the coaches, I knew a few of the coaches, Coach Hoffman and stuff like that. And so we sit around talking before the game. It was like, and so my kids are around, and he said things like, yeah.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The whole town shut down. I know you're used to this, Coach Drayton. The whole town going to shut down to come watch us play. So our kid looking around like the whole town. He was like, yeah, it's like the whole town and stuff like that. So that was our indoctrination in single A ball right there and things like that. And they wound up beating us and things like that. Our kids it was a crazy night. And so when we got in single A, I was like, y'all remember Flint River? I was like, it's going to be like that every week. The town's going to shut down. I was like, those teams are the prize of their community. Them kids are going to play hard. Them kids are just, they're going to be, whatever county we playing, that's them and things like that. And our kids got a rude awakening very early in our first situation like that. But yeah, it being Metro and being single A it's almost like an oxymoron. Like it just don't even sound right, but we are that.
And that's awesome. That's awesome though, because so many times it's the other way. Like you take kids to Atlanta, or you take them when you get to the playoffs, and you're like, man, these kids ain't never been north of Macon or wherever. They ain't never been to Atlanta. Yeah. And then you don't even think about it the other way, where these kids ain't never been to the country. They ain't never been out of Atlanta. Yeah. And it's just completely the opposite. And they're like, wait a minute, they don't have a McDonald's.
Yeah. They're like, where we gonna eat at? Like, you find somewhere to eat and then we'll go. Ain't nothing to eat around here. We went one place, they're like, well, I forgot what it was. They had something. I want to say it was a pizza place. It's like, well, we got this one pizza place in town, but you have to call them pretty early to get pizza. But if you don't get them, there ain't really nothing here. My kids like, we not gonna eat, it's stuff like, no, but shout out to my coaches, shout out to a few more, but dedicated parents, man. We always made sure our kids, had food either on the bus or waiting for them as soon as they got back, man.
Right. So what was the first thing when you got in there to get it turned around? Because y'all are well on the way of having it headed in the right direction. What was the first thing you thought that you needed to do? I mean, everybody says their first head coaching job is like drinking from a fire hose. So, I mean, what was the first thing that you thought, all right, I know I got to get this done philosophy-wise to get this foundation built?
My whole thing was, I'm big on building relationships. And I told my principal and I told my AD this. I said, because they asked me, like, what can we do to get the program to win and things like that. And I was like, well, it's not really necessarily about winning, but these kids need to come in and know, A, we're going to be there for them. We're not going anywhere. And the biggest thing is we have to build like real bonds. Like it can't be fake. And I'm not a fake person. And so my thing is I knew that with that, I didn't even want to hire I'm not going to hire football coaches. I don't want to hire a good football coach. I want to hire good men because that to me was the biggest thing, like they had a coach, shout out to Coach Burdett because he's helped me along this journey. He was the previous coach and things like that, but he left. And so these kids looking around like, dang, he's probably going to leave too. And them kids thought I was going to leave. They literally thought I was going to leave after a year or two and things like that. But I was telling them like, look, I moved my family up here. We were good in Lowndes. We could have stayed in Lowndes County. We had our house. My kids were born and raised there. So we were great. So when I told them, I said, look, I'm for y'all. Y'all be for me. And as long as we stick together, man, we're going to be all right. So the biggest thing for us, and I told my coach, I had 2 coaches my first year. It was 3 of us. But I told them, we have to build these relationships with these kids because these kids don't genuinely see that we're going to be there for them. And we're just wasting our time. So that was the biggest thing. I didn't care about no X's and O's. I wouldn't worry about nothing because to be quite honest, your analogy about the fire hose and your first head coaching job was true in a sense for me that like they gave me the key and they just dropped me off and I'm looking around like because the situation was so unique because you got to think and like Ross New was my first head coach. Mike Pitt was my second. Ashley Henderson was my third. All of these dudes are down there won 100 games. And I had, Bobby Jones and I had Ashley again. And I had Coach Dubose who won a gazillion games and 5 state championships and what's the name. So, and I've always been with these other than Hamilton County, always with these super stable programs and everything was just all just working like clockwork. Like, it ain't perfect anywhere, but you got to saw, the good in a lot of programs. And so when I got up there, and none of these things are happening. No, we have no booster club. We have no parent support. Admin just like, here you go. You got it. We out. We have none of that. You looking around, we have our weight room was terrible. We didn't have anything. So I had to fix my mind from, okay, there's no way that I can build a program like they build down south. There's no way we can do that up here. So that was my first thing. Just let's build relationships. Let's go ahead and just, try to build our culture on those type of relationships. And so I feel like that was the first and the biggest thing that we had to do. And I feel like we succeeded because that first year, our first game, we got beat by 70-0. Chattahoochee County, I never forget it. We got beat by 70-0. We couldn't even move the ball. The ball didn't get past half field. And so we lost our first few games, 0 and things like that. And then we got to that 5th game, still not good, but we lost in overtime. And I never forget the look on those kids' faces for losing because we came off the field. You would have thought we won. They're in the locker room. They're excited. And I'm sitting here like, and me and my 2 coaches, we like, what? So it's like, y'all, what's wrong with y'all? Nah, coach, we just happy, man. We just happy. This is our first time competing. Just competing. They were happy about competing. And so, but I knew then, that's when I knew that was probably the right thing to do and things like that. It wasn't necessarily about, coming in, being this program building stuff like that. It was really just coming in and being a good guy, being a good man to these young men and things like that. And so that first year, we played Columbia tough, and, after that, he was like, he didn't take it easy on us before. But shout out to Greg, man, Greg Barnett, the coach at Columbia and stuff like that. But after that year after, he was like, nah, he never gonna do that again. So, they beat our brains in a few years, which is cool and stuff like that. It's part of the process. But, in that last game we played at Thurl High School, and we had a chance to win that, which is crazy. We had a chance to win 2 games my first year, not knowing much of nothing. But again, we thought we came in, it was more about, hey, let's just love on these kids. You know what I'm saying? Let's show them, what real love is. Let's show them what a love from a man can be like and stuff like that. Let's just keep them here at first. And once we keep them here and we can build upon that, then that's when we can know we can try to do something special here.
So how did this year go? Year 4.
Year four, we went 4-6, but we made the playoffs for the first time since 2007. And in our region, other than Social Circle, every game was a 1-score game. And the process to build them, lose big, lose small, then you start to win a little bit and stuff like that. I felt like that process kind of got thrown off my second year because we won more than we were supposed to. So it kind of set the expectations high. So this year, this was probably the best. I ain't gonna say it. This was probably the best assortment of all the talent that we've had here. And I had more, this is my biggest senior class, 10 seniors, all of them played, ranging from all county to all state caliber kids. So we knew we knew we could be really good and stuff like that. But in that, the game still had to be played. So I feel like, us moving to single A, I feel like just those type of things happening and those kids not knowing how to win in these environments kind of played a part. But kudos to my coaches and my guys, never gave up, made the playoffs, man. And I'm excited and things like that, because really we could be sitting here. We could have been sitting there 7-2 easily. I'm talking about, and no disrespect to any team we played, but if you go back and watch our film in every game, we beat ourselves almost every game. It was always something. It was something brand new. You can't write a script about it. You cannot.
Well, kids being kids.
Yeah, it's kids being kids in big situations, man, because we told them, and our kids, and they'll tell you, if you ever got a chance to talk to them, they'll tell you, I'm real to a fault, man. And they always think, man, coach can see the future. And they ain't not can see the future, but I've just been around a team that went through a rebuild like this. And it's just, everything was just flashing before my eyes again when we was in Hamilton County. And so I would go in the game and be like, look, man, somebody going to wind up doing, being out of spot. Somebody going to wind up being out of spot. 17 ran county. Somebody going to wind up being in a spot on the county. They're going to hit an A gap and score, and it's going to break out back, and it always happens. You just be calling this stuff out, and they hated me for doing it. But I was just, I wasn't, trying to jinx them. I just want warm. We have to be good, because when you playing a single A, you're playing a lot of very well coached teams with a lot of hard working, hard nosed, good kids that's going to do exactly what their coach tell them to do, and they're going to wait for us to make a mistake. And I felt like we were the best team going into every game. We had the best kids, we had the best situation. We were very unique what we did offensively and things like that once we got it together. But I just knew if we could stop, if we couldn't make mistakes offensively, if we lined up and we just played defensively, we didn't make mistakes, we could have been an extremely good team. But I have to remind myself, it's part of the process, at McNair, in Metro Atlanta, in single A ball, and trying to win those type of games and things like that. And it's still part of the process. And so when we made the playoffs, man, it was just, we still did what we needed to do. That was our biggest goal, we wanted to make the playoffs, man. And we hadn't done it since 2007, and we did it, and the kids were excited. We got a chance to play Heard County, but the moment is the moment. The moment. Heard County is a really darn good team, and well coached, and things like that. But just being able just to make the playoffs with this group of seniors, man, who did not run from it, who could have went to any school around the cab or left and things like that. They didn't run from the hard work. They didn't run from the sacrifices that it took. And a lot of kids do nowadays, but that's why these kids right here always be special to me, because, up in this area where you can run, them kids stood 10 toes down with me, man. And I told them after the last game, look, I'll forever be in their debt, and thank them for allowing me to coach y'all, because, like you're saying, it's easy to leave. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of how our society is nowadays. You know, I'm not getting the success. They're winning over HFC to go. They win that Columbus to go there, but none of these kids ever faltered, man. They stayed with me, man, and I'll always be forever indebted with them and my coaches.
Coach, that's a testament to you as a coach, you as a man. The job you've done at McNair is just fantastic. I'm so thankful that you joined us on the podcast. I appreciate you being on with us and sharing with everybody your journey so far. You got a long way to go still, not saying that at McNair, but just in your career. I can't wait to sit back and watch all the great things I know you're going to do and continue to build at McNair as well. I appreciate you being on with us. And, man, I'm just glad that you're getting to share your story with everybody else so they understand, you know, everything that you have to do that's so unique in the situation that you have at McNair High School.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on to let me share my story, man. A lot of people really never understand it. Even when I say it, they're still never going to understand it. And, you know, look, I could be at a school right now, you know, that got all the resources, and I feel like I'll probably still be playing right now, man, and stuff like that. But like somebody told me, you know, a lot of times I could do that, but it's not really about that. It's not where, you know, I want to be, but you know, it's what God needed me to be. And so God needed me to be at McNair High School for a purpose, and I just want to serve that purpose for him.
Well, we sure are glad you're serving it, Coach. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to meet you in person, see you at one of the clinics, and we'll hook up.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21+. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.